Okay. Yeah, my camera's not working correctly, and I got to see what's up. In the meantime, I'm using the webcam that's on the computer, but I prefer to use the one on my Canon camera, but that's neither here nor there. So at least we're getting something done regardless.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, I have a question. How long did you know you were going to go to college?
How long did I know I was going to go to college?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to go to college until I was, I would say, in high school. And the reason why is, like, my brother was, because I'm the second child,
Okay.
and like he was the promised child. So everybody put all the emphasis on my brother. I was the one that always got in trouble in school. I was always a jokester. So I
Oh,
was,
so I can't
so
imagine you
nobody,
getting sent to the office all the time, but okay.
yeah, so nobody really ever expected much of me. I mean, even at church, I tell you the funniest thing was my piano instructor. That was when like I was about 14 years old. He told my mother, he says, I should think about a career being an auto mechanic or a plumber or something because I really don't have what it takes to, be a professional or anything like that. So,
Where'd you go to high school?
like, you said what?
Where'd you go to high school?
Banning High School in Wilmington, California.
Oh, okay. I thought you grew up on the east side. Okay.
I know I did grow up on the east side, but later my family moved, and then I went. I spent my early years over at Hooper.
Yeah,
You know.
Hooper Elementary. Yeah, I live not too far. I went to Miramonte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was on 66. You were probably in the 50s or the
Not
40s.
49th and Central.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, you
Remember
definitely.
first that. So remember my first address, 1166 East 49th Street.
Okay, okay.
So
Well,
somebody's gonna try to go there. So go ahead. I'm not there.
well, I grew up on 66, right across the street from Edison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and you would have? Did you go to Edison, or you would have went to Edison?
I would have went to Edison. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I had
Well,
almost
my
got
brother,
into a fight with a guy.
like I said, because we went the track that we were go was what it was Hooper, and then from Hooper to Carver.
Yeah.
Carver it's Carver Middle School now,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Carver, like you said, on to Edison.
Okay. Okay. So, what made you actually go to college afterwards? I mean, since you weren't the anointed one.
I tell you what made me go is if you really want the story, this is what happened. I've always one like I just said, I was a goof off or whatever. So I went. I always wanted like to do things the fast way. So I saw on these, how they have on TV, they have these career colleges, and
Yeah.
they said get a college degree in four months. So
Yeah.
I went to Berkeley Career College. Oh man, I studied my butt off. I turned out I was a valedictorian, spoke at our ceremony. Oh man. So then I went to Transamerica, the life insurance company, because they had a nice ad in the paper, college graduate,
Yeah.
working in the human resource department. And then the funniest thing was the manager, he called me in and he says, let me tell you something. He said, you got a college degree? I said, oh yeah, I've been to Berkeley Career College. I said, man, I said, I was a valedictorian. He said, I see here. He said, let me ask you something. I said, what's that? He says, do you think in 4 months you can get 4 years of training? I said, well, that is a little absurd, isn't it? He said, I think it is. He said, I tell you what you should do. He says, hey, you need to go to, he says, hey, go join the Navy, go join and do whatever, and, or go to college or something. He said, because you're not going to get anywhere with this little, this 4 year thing. So after that, that's when I decided, I said, hey, I need to go on to college, and that's what really pushed me. But it's a very humiliating experience,
A
to
kick
be
in the pants.
oh man, I had my perfect attendance award from Barkley Career College.
Okay.
Man,
Was it downtown?
I said, yeah, right there on Normandy and Wilshire.
Okay.
They're
Okay.
bankrupt now, so they went
Yeah.
bankrupt.
Yeah. A lot of those type of schools. Okay.
Yeah,
See,
but that's what made me go to college after I was humiliated. I was really proud of myself, but you know,
okay. In my case, I knew in the 6th grade that I was going to go to Grambling.
oh, okay,
Yeah, I knew that in the 6th grade that I was supposed to go to Grambling because I had a cousin that was going to Grambling at the time, and he was the first in our family, in our generation, to attend college. That was a big deal. That he was a college boy. So he went to Grambling. Then I had other cousins went. My brother went. He didn't finish, but my brother did go. So,
right,
like I said, it was 6th grade. I'm just knowing I was going to go to Grambling. But you have to keep in mind that when I was in school, most of my friends were struggling to pass American history.
right,
I mean, they just, school wasn't their thing. We never talked about classes. And school to me, I'm not going to, act like I'm some genius or nothing, but it just wasn't that big a deal to me. High school, it wasn't a struggle, but I could have done better.
right,
So I'll never forget, I was in 6th period, my senior year, had about a month before graduation. And it occurred to me, oh, if you're supposed to go to Grambling, you're supposed to have did something by now. And this is a month before graduation.
right.
So I asked the teacher, can I go talk to the counselor? Because that's the only person I kind of figured I could talk to. He said, yeah. So I go in the office and told her that I was, I wanted to go to Grambling. And she was like, she gave me this big lecture like, oh, if you're supposed to go to college, why are you just telling me something now? And my feeling was, well, if you're the counselor, how come you haven't let me know nothing now?
Right.
Yeah, and she's a Black woman. So she gave me all my ACT stuff, because at that time, well, in Louisiana, we dealt with the ACT more than the SAT.
Right.
And the financial aid stuff. So I remember I went home and I spent hours filling everything out. I think I was late with the ACT, but I don't think I had to pay extra. I could be wrong, but I took the ACT. I didn't do that well, but it was enough. I still made it in college. But what happened was I made all these plans to go to Grambling, and when I talked to everybody else, they had already been set. They're going to stay in the dorm, because I went to high school in Hammond, Louisiana. Grambling was probably about 300 miles north, just like here to the Bay Area.
Right.
And they were going to stay in the dorm. So I was like, man, I ain't know nothing about all this, staying in dorms and all that kind of stuff. So I said, okay, the first year I'll go to Southeastern. And I'll first semester, first year I'll go to Southeastern, I'll transfer. Once I got to Southeastern, I made friends and everything. And I didn't feel like leaving, school at that point. That's how I ended up graduating from Southeastern Louisiana University.
Oh, okay.
But see, my point is, I just think the BMCs could have been there to kind of guide me. And when I say BMCs, I'm talking about the Black middle class. And they weren't. I should have been guided a little bit more, because I really did have, aspirations going to college. And, oftentimes we hear this stuff about people of other races not wanting us to get ahead, but sometimes it's us. In that particular case, that shouldn't have happened. I should have,
Well,
since I,
the thing you got to remember, you're first generation, though, right?
yeah.
So number one, I mean, even though your parents, they did their best. I mean, they didn't know everything about it, right?
Well, they didn't know anything. I understand that, but I'm talking about the BMCs. There was a black middle class in the area.
There's in our people, there's the 50-50 rule, right?
I never heard of that one.
Oh yeah, half of us want to do something and the other half don't, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's like the half want to still use the N word, the other half doesn't. So I think, unfortunately, you might have been classified in the wrong class.
Oh, I was definitely classified in the wrong class. But my point was, all they had to do was look a little further within, and they would have saw that I did have aspirations, just like their sons and daughters. Now they made sure their sons and daughters went. It's just that they held with him.
What about your church? Did your church have any programs?
Not that I know of. I'm trying to think. And say I was more of a Sunday school person more so than church, but I knew one girl and one guy went to Southern University. He was about 3 or 4 years older than me. And there was one girl that went to Howard. In fact, she ended up being an attorney. She's doing pretty well. As far as the guy who went to Southern, not so well, but like I say, she's doing pretty well. But as far as there was maybe a couple of teachers, but overwhelmingly, most of them had, talking about people who, a lot of the older people that grew up in Jim Crow that never finished, they never made it to junior high, let alone high school, let alone college.
Well, it kind of follows along with the statistics that they talk about even now. That after even like 40 years of, you look from the Watts riot all the way from the 60s and, like Cal State Dominguez Hills, that was built for our people, after the riots.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, they show the statistics doesn't matter not only with just African Americans, but all nationalities. The majority of the people that go to college, either they had somebody in their family go, or you know what I mean, they're in an environment, like you said, where they're pushed. And there's always going to be a first generation somewhere, but unfortunately, the majority of the people that are going to go are those that they come from people that have means or whatever.
Okay. Well, like I say, I know. For example, when I went to Southeastern,
right?
When I first got to Southeastern, because there was a point where I stepped out of school a little while and got my degree later on. When I first went, almost everybody was a first generation.
Right.
I mean, just about everybody was in a similar situation like me. I stepped out of school a few years and I came back. And of course, most of my old friends have graduated. And that new generation, I noticed they had parents that had gone to college or had finished high school at least. So they were a little bit more better prepared, I think,
and that's like you just, and that's the other thing, like you said, go back to your church. I mean, let's face it, for the African American community, the church is kind of like the center focal of info and advancement. Some churches, unfortunately, like my church, they had like a scholarship. So that's why, like I just said, I was kind of, even though I didn't, like I said, wasn't into it, I was kind of pushed because, it's just, if there's a scholarship, other people are talking about it. How many teachers went to your church? I think that's another thing that helps too, though. When you have more actual teachers.
I know it was a few, we're talking, it's 3 that I could think of.
Oh, okay.
It's only 3 that I could think of offhand. But I'm just, I look back and I was a case of something that shouldn't have happened. And I'm just kind of wondering how many other people kind of fell through cracks like that. Because I know, like, I had a bunch of friends that were like a year or two behind me.
Right.
And as soon as I realized what had happened to me, I just remember sitting in front of the guy's house, and we were about 4 or 5 of us, and I'm giving them details on everything they needed to do. So they did not have that problem. Because, you know, they can honestly say that I taught them what they were going to have to do to get to college if they wanted to go. Now, the main one didn't finish, but the others did. You know,
Right.
They went, whether they, you know, athletics or whatever, they listened to what I said. And they, you know, they got in without a problem. But me, I remember it was just so crazy how I you know, didn't know anything about studying for the ACT. Went and I got a low score. I got a relatively low score in English. I put it that way. And what it just shows, you know, I had no guidance when I was a freshman.
Well, it's our people, period. I mean,
Yeah.
We don't teach toward the tests where they
Yeah.
teach toward the tests. I mean, their classes are geared toward the tests. So that's why they're, you know what I mean? They're constantly getting vocabulary. They're
Yeah.
constantly getting words. You know what I'm just saying? So you can,
Well,
that's why, yeah, like an A student at Crenshaw, they're an F student when they're compared to, you know, somebody from St. John Bosco or somewhere else
yeah.
because they're not, you know what I mean? They're not trained toward the tests. And, you know,
Okay.
and the other thing too is, like I said, I'll let you speak is
Mhm.
a lot of times, the only time we get to on a college campus is when we actually go.
Yep.
Where you little, you know, little white kids, little Asians there, because their parents are alumni or whatever, so they're playing on the college campus. They're, you know what I mean? They take them to
Yeah.
games. They, you know, they get to meet the professors. They hang out. So when they get there, it's not a shock, you know?
Well, show you what I did silly when I was a freshman. Okay. Like I said, I didn't do that well on the ACT. So I had to take remedial English. English,
Right.
we call it was English 100 at that time. It didn't count towards graduation, but it counted as an elective. So I take the class, and the school had a noted English department. So you know, we wrote a lot of English, we wrote a lot of, you know, paragraphs, papers and stuff. So I remember it must have been like the second or third week of school. It was after the period that you could change classes. I do remember that.
Right.
I wrote a paper, and the teacher left me a note basically saying I needed to come to her office. I'm like, what the hell I need to come to her office for? So I go to her office, and she says, I've been reading your papers, and you have no business in remedial English. So I've talked with the heads of the departments and stuff, and we're about to put you in English 101. Well, silly me, there were pretty girls in English 100.
Right.
So I said, no. And she's like, no, you don't need to be in English 100. That's remedial. I'm like, no, I do need remedial English. She said, I can tell by the way you write, you don't need it. And she's like, you need, you know, to go to English 101. No, I'd rather stay in remedial English. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, you know, all I'm thinking about is these pretty girls.
Right.
But, you know, I said, you know, you really look back, I was just a teenager, and there was nobody to guide me in anything like that. So
Oh,
I
well,
ended
I mean,
up,
that happens today, though. I mean, you see at all ages, I mean, guys get thrown off by pretty girls. So you have to, you know what I mean? You whatever you got to do, I learned you got to stay to the track. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And like I say, one of the girls in particular, he married one of your boys, and, you know, there's a couple of others, but I remember you know, that was the dumbest. I never talked to those girls. So what was I thinking about? But you know, like I say, I was a teenager. But
You like sound like just said, hey, lust is a powerful emotion, bro.
if you want to call it that, okay, yeah,
So
but yeah,
like I said, hey, a lot of guys look at Kwame Kilpatrick, right?
oh yeah, yeah,
Look at even Steve Harvey. I mean, I shouldn't knock him. I mean, but remember his wife, the one he has now, she ignored him in college, right?
mm-hmm.
But now he's a baller. Where is she?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, like I say, bees
It
that
helps
way
to have
sometimes.
toys, right?
Huh?
I said it helps to have toys, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to build up my arsenal of toys. So, well, what can I say? Well, okay, I guess I'll put my message out for this week, and like I said, I think I said enough. But like I say, life would have been a little different had I had a certain amount of guidance that I didn't have. But that's life, we got to move on regardless.
Oh, definitely. Well, you got to remember, you got to take what you have and make the best of it.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay then, Jonathan, I'm about to log off, and for those out there watching, please remember, if you like what you're hearing, if you can relate to what I'm talking about, if this strikes a chord, hit the like button. And it wouldn't hurt if you hit the subscribe button as well. But at the very least, hit the like button. And if you find that I'm saying something wrong, I'm not going to object if you hit the unlike button, but just hit a button. It's
We
really
prefer
that
the like.
simple.
We
Huh?
prefer the like
Yeah,
button.
we prefer the like buttons, but the reason why I say the unlike button, it shows a sense of engagement. But yeah, just hit a button. That's the main thing. Start hitting some buttons. All right, there, Jonathan. I'm going to check with you later.
All right. Have a good one, Eddie Lee.
All right.